What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge. Alright, this story's called Abuse Me and My Mother for Years, Keep Us Out of Our Home, and Stop Me from Getting a Haircut? Enjoy having an entire neighborhood kick your ass and steal your crap. As my username would suggest, this happened way back in 2011. Frickin' hell, this happened in 2010. I graduated in 2011, which is why I'm fixated on that date. Sorry. The reason I'm compelled to share this now is because I graduate soon with my MS degree in mechanical engineering, or master's degree. My grades sucked all through high school, in many ways due to Michael, the subject of this post, and I've struggled with depression and anxiety over the years. I shared this story with my girlfriend this morning, and she was shocked at it. I just never thought to share it before. She told me to post it here. My mom dated a guy named Michael from the time I was 7 until December 17th, 2010. I just recently turned 18 and was in my last year of high school. Michael was a person who did not deal well with issues he had from his own abusive upbringing. I've been a crap person before myself, and I'm sure I still have a lot of room to improve, so I never like to speak poorly of people because I think it can be accurately assumed that most people have a good reason for being the way that they are. It's not an excuse, but I don't think people are bad. I think bad circumstances condition people to behave badly. Hey man, holy crap, I agree with that sentiment. However, there are some just purely bad people. Like, there are people who make conscious decisions to do bad things for just the hell of it. Michael was a severe alcoholic, he was childish, he was obsessed with knives, would talk about how he wished he could gut people alive, hung around violent criminals, and took me around them as a child. He was extremely verbally and emotionally abusive to my mother. My mother wanted him to be my dad though. So, to his credit, he fitted the dad role as best as he could. But the best he could do was to teach me extremely unhealthy relationship dynamics and how to glorify violence and bravado. At the end of high school, my mom's mom died and left my mom a house. The house was, or is, decently sized, and while it's still in the ghetto, it's in as safe a part of the ghetto as there is. Everyone that lives in this corner of the city has been there for decades, and we all know each other very well. We're like a big family, but we keep to ourselves unless invited in by others. We respect boundaries, and that's what makes this small community a good one. Now, important to note, my neighbors and older bros are not angels. These people are violent criminals in their own right, but they were on my side, and this is important. So, the house. It was left to me and my mother. Michael refused to let us enter the home. My mom and I lived in the smallest, crappiest apartment in the most violent part of the city. And for 18-year-old me, I'd only just begun to reflect on life and realize how crappy Michael and my narcissistic mother had been towards me. I was fed up, and living in this disgusting, violent apartment was just fueling my rage every second. One day, I was especially furious. I don't know why. I just woke up in an absolute quiet rage, contained myself through the school day, and I was just fixated on getting a haircut. That was my goal for the day. Just get a haircut, get home, go to bed. And it's very important to note that I'm in a boot for a badly sprained ankle at this time. That comes up later. My mom throws a monkey wrench in my plans. See, she was sure Michael was cheating on her again, so she demanded I go over to the house I grew up in that he kicked us out of to inspect and see if there was another woman or if there was evidence of other women being in the home. I protest, but to no avail, and at this point, I'm about an inch from exploding. I drive over to the house and I knock at the door for 7 minutes. This pushed me about half of an inch from explosion. I grew up in this house. I freaking knew the acoustics of it. I don't care if you're in the last room upstairs at the back of the house, if someone lightly taps the front door, you hear that crap. So I knew he was making me wait as some show of dominance that this was his house. He eventually unlocks the door and I push it open and push him back in the process. He yells out and asks me what was wrong, and I responded in saying that I was there to make sure he wasn't screwing anyone else in my grandma's house. Now, I'm a pretty large guy, and Michael was small. Even back then, I dwarfed him, but I've always been a gentle giant, as my mom says. I've never gotten into a fight, almost never raised my voice or asserted myself with anyone. So for me to respond so firmly and disrespectfully, with no concern for how he felt, he backed off a bit in that moment. I noticed that. I began walking through every room of the house. I was finding nothing and no one, and I was fine with this. Remember, my goal is the haircut. That's all I want out of life right now. And then I get to my grandma's old bedroom. I open the door and it slams back in my face. Then out steps Michael's brother, who was about my size, and he says to me, "Ain't nothing for you in there." I remember being so angry. It was like past the point of an explosion. I described it to my girlfriend as pure rage and malevolence, yet restrained. I had this blank expression on my face, turned around, and walked downstairs. And I told Michael in a calm voice, "Get your brother and leave now. I've had enough of you in my life." Michael then, believing I was intimidated by his brother, gets in my face and starts to scream and curse and threaten me. I stood there, honest to God, just looking at him like a lion looks at a weak, small, destructible gazelle, literally thinking to myself, I can break you. He then yells at me to get the hell out of my house. All of a sudden, I was snapped out of this trance-like state. Brethren, you have no house. You're homeless now. Get your brother and leave. He must have, again, recognized that his brother was all the way upstairs and I was inches away from him. But he's in too deep now. He has to commit, lest his pride be wounded. So he says, "Oh, you think I'm a coward, huh?" And of course I responded, "I think you're a homeless coward." He then turns around and just keeps repeating, You think I'm a coward?" I wish I could say cuss words on here. He eventually comes back with 2 knives in his hands. I see this, and at this moment, I'm very seriously okay with the thought of dying right then and there. Wow. Life had always been crap, and I couldn't even get my damn hair cut. This part still makes me cry, even right now. So I told him, "You're gonna have to kill me the first time you swing at me with those." Then his brother comes downstairs. I never took my eyes off Michael. His brother stands on the stairs a few feet away from Michael and I. Michael drops the knives and tries to tackle me and push me out of the house. I slip a little because of the boot, but once I get a little friction under the boot, it literally feels like when your little cousin or sibling tries to fight you. In that moment, I thought about how I was about to destroy this man. His brother must have seen me smile because then he jumped in and started pushing me as well. I don't know if I was stronger than I thought or if the rage gave me an adrenaline rush, but I was pushing them both back. I'm telling you, man, desperation can cause some great things to happen, and some creepy stuff too, so don't be too desperate. Michael's brother then starts to kick my boot, which both hurt my ankle and made me slip back. That, coupled with them pushing, eventually pushed me out of the front door, off the porch, and down the stairs onto the ground in front of the house. And this is the angriest I have ever been in my entire life. I was angry to the point where I would have gladly hurt myself to hurt them. I got so overcome with emotion, I started to cry and my breathing got erratic. Michael and his brother were taunting me as this happened, and I just started to take off the boot. I didn't want the haircut anymore. I wanted both of them hurt or dead. The next thing I notice is that people started surrounding me. I'm still struggling to regain motor control and take off the damn goddamn boot, and then two of my older brothers from the neighborhood, Jiggy and Tyrone, kneeled down and consoled me. Jiggy asked me what was wrong and what happened. I told them about all the crap Michael had done over the years and what had happened that day. When I got to the end, Tyrone said, "Hold up, little Chris. These motherfathers put you out of Miss Mama," what everyone used to call my grandma's, "house after you told them to leave." Then both Jiggy and Tyrone started taking their shirts off and told me they'd take care of them if I said it. And I then heard all the stirring behind me. Damn near the entire block was in our yard and in the street in front of our yard, and they were all calling out support. "He ain't gonna do you like that, little Chris, not on this street," and things like that. I looked up at Michael and his brother, and I could see the fear on their faces. I just shook my head yes and said not to kill them. Jiggy and Tyrone ran in the house after them and dragged them out in the yard. Then a circle pretty much formed around them, and it was just the most spectacular beatdown I'd ever seen. After that, Jiggy said they'd help me take all their crap out of the house and told me keep the crap I liked. So I did exactly that. I went in with like 10 people. I gave some crap away to them, kept some crap, and pretty much just gave Michael and his brother the clothes no one else wanted. They ended up leaving their clothes. Here's why. The next door neighbor was this old veteran. Real gritty, no-nonsense old guy named Alvin. Alvin walked out with his shotgun. He walked over to these two bloody pulps on the lawn and said, "Now get the hell off my street!" And he literally just yelled at them to get up and run or crawl or roll to get off the block. He followed them, stumbling up to the main road, and then he calmly walked back. That was the last day I ever saw or heard from either of them. The next few years were hell. Mom blamed me for ruining her relationship, and I had to unlearn all the terrible crap I'd been taught in life and start to go to school and get my life in order. Things are better now. I love me some neighborhood I love justice like this. I don't know what to call it, mob justice, if that's, I guess that would be like a technical term for it, but this was a righteous mob. Anyway, OP, freaking good on you for not taking their crap. I'm sure like they're like terrified of you now, basically, and that's good. And it must have been really, really nice to know all of these people had your back. It's just, I feel really warm. Also, I'm sorry your mom's like, you know, just really bad at understanding situations. Alright, this story's called Fired from Last Job, but I got the last laugh. Pardon the format, I am on mobile. I worked at a retail chain that sold pet supplies and products. When I started working there, it was great, family owned, and everyone I worked with was fantastic. The owners eventually wanted to retire and sold the small chain to an investment group. Once the investment group took over, almost all but a few employees were let go, forced out, or just quit. I hung on for a little while longer because I got promoted at my other job. New company brings in new manager to my store. My store was the top performing store in the entire chain, bringing in about $10,000 to $12,000 a day on average. It was always more on weekends and especially around the holidays. The new manager is a Mr. Company Man. Company told him they only want employees around for 2 to 3 years. Myself and 2 others had been there for 10 plus years. So naturally he began ruffling feathers and giving us all a hard time. Unfortunately, he decided on me first. Mr. Company Man found out I worked 2 jobs. The 2 jobs are not in related fields, so there was no chance of any conflicts of interest on my end. However, my second job requires me to work nights and weekends. When Mr. Company Man found this out, he demanded I work nights and weekends there. So it was fair for everyone. I didn't work nights and weekends there because I was that store's only OSHA certified forklift operator, and deliveries didn't come at night. They came weekday mornings every day. Mr. Company Man didn't want to hear that and told me I either had to work nights and weekends or that day would be my last day. I told him, "Don't threaten me with a good time. I suppose today is my last day then." I was pretty pissed about that, but it's not a big deal now. Ended up being the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I went home early, didn't finish my shift because screw them, but when I got home, I decided to call my local OSHA inspector and report them for not having a certified operator on staff, as well as numerous other hazards. Needless to say, they lost close to 3 weeks' profit from all the violations the inspector found. I was surprised they even showed up. In my state, the inspector will call you back after an inspection and tell you if your claims were founded or not. Mine were, and Mr. Company Man got his ass chewed out so bad he ended up quitting. Edit: I didn't expect this to really get any attention. Thanks for all the awards. To add a bit more, after I was fired, it really motivated me to get my behind in gear and get back in school. Working as a stationary engineer now. Thanks everyone. Edit 2. Wow, this really blew up. I am editing again to make a few clarifications. My state does not have a forklift license. It's really called a powerlift operator's license. The license needs to be renewed every 4 years. There are 7 classes of powerlift here. I was certified in 1 through 6. Class 7 being any lift equipped with pneumatic tires, which I would never have needed to use because ours was a class 5. There is no federal regulation, standard, or language that requires certification to my best knowledge, but my AHJs, authority having jurisdiction, are allowed to make regulations and standards that are more stringent than federal ones. These standards and regulations are typically enforced by local Department of Labor office or OSHA office. Thanks all. Thank you for the lesson in certifications and stuff. OP, also, you handled it like a boss, so good job. Screw that boss though. He ain't no boss. He's not a very boss, at least not anymore, because he quit. Alright, this story's called My Awesome Neighbor. So this summer I was out gardening. I was in regular shorts and shirt. My kids playing in the pool. When the dogs start going crazy at the gate, so I see a man say hi. He stated he had just moved in and his kids could see my family's backyard. Asked if I could dress more modestly. I had to have had a what the fuck look. He said, like, cover my arms and legs and not let the kids run in underwear. I said no thank you and to leave my property. My children had swimsuits on. They were not naked. I kept getting dirty looks from him on walks. He asked 2 more times, so this Christmas we put up the biblical picture of Adam and Eve naked in the Garden of Eden. There's now a for sale sign up after only a year. We also added another dog and security cameras. Ha! Yeah, stick it to that stupid ugly guy. Freaking smelly pants, telling people what to wear in their own yards. This is ludicrous. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.